Hello and welcome. Tonight, you're invited to gently drift through time to a world dimly lit by flickering torchlight, where the scent of smoke and open drains mingles in the narrow streets. A world of cobblestones, soot-stained walls, distant bells, and lives live in the shadows of great cathedrals. This is not the medieval world of romance and chivalry. There are no gallant knights here, no grand adventures. Instead, we'll walk among those who live with sore feet, calloused hands, and empty stomachs. We'll settle into the slow, rhythmic details of ordinary people and discover why you, yes, you, likely wouldn't last a day in a medieval city. In this 2-hour journey, you'll explore the sights and routines of daily urban life during the Middle Ages, what it looked like, sounded like, and how it often smelled. Then, we'll shift gently into the story of one of the most devastating events in medieval history, the Black Death, and how it reshaped entire cities. From there, we'll delve into the strange and unsolved mystery of the Dancing Plague, a bizarre episode of spontaneous movement and madness. And finally, we'll leave the gutters behind and ascend to the high halls of nobility, where life was not always as luxurious as it seemed. So if you're ready, get comfortable. Close your eyes if you'd like. Let your breathing slow, the morning light slipping weakly through a fog of smoke. But atop a straw-stuffed sack riddled with lice, lying on a wooden floor shared by family members, and possibly a chicken or two. And imagine yourself in a world very different from your own imagined. You stir awake not in a bed. As you know it, the walls around you are timber and daub, thin enough to hear the cough of your neighbor or the barking of dogs outside. There is no plumbing, no window panes, no insulation from cold or noise. Only the sounds of life beyond your walls, carts rattling over cobblestone, shouts of vendors, and the ever-present clanging of church bells marking time. You rise and prepare for a day that promises little rest. Water must be fetched from a public well or the nearest river. But even that water is suspect. It carries the waste of tanners, dyers, butchers, and worse. If you're lucky, you'll start the day with a piece of coarse bread and perhaps a bit of broth or weak ale. Safer than the water, ale, thin and sour, is the drink of the masses. Children, too, drink it, not for pleasure, but for survival. As you step into the street, the first thing you notice is the smell. A medieval city is thick with it. Human waste, thrown from upper windows into the gutters below. Rotting food, animal droppings, the heavy, metallic tang of blood from the butcher's stall. It settles in your nose and becomes, after a time, simply part of the air. You tread carefully. The narrow streets are often slick with filth. If it has rained, the sludge thickens. If it's dry, the dust of dried waste rises with every footstep. Above, balconies and wooden supports lean precariously over your head. Buildings often overhang the streets, making the city feel enclosed, almost claustrophobic. If you're an apprentice, you report to your master's shop. If you're a vendor, you push your wares into the marketplace. If you're poor and unemployed, you beg, or you sweep, or haul, or scrape, whatever earns a coin. Work is physical, long, monotonous. Tools are rudimentary. Apprentices often labor for years with no promise of eventual independence. Guilds offer some structure, but competition is fierce and corruption is common. You are always hungry. Your stomach often clenches, not from illness, but from insufficient food. Meat is rare. Fruits and vegetables, seasonal. You eat what you can, when you can. Clothing itches, made from coarse wool. You have no change of garments. Bathing is infrequent, and when done, it is more symbolic than sanitary. Toothache is common, as are rashes, boils, and 1,000 unnamed discomforts that simmer quietly beneath daily routine. And all the while, the church looms large. Its bells call you to prayer. Its officials demand tithes. Its sermons remind you of your sin. Its presence is constant and unquestioned. Death, too, is never far. A fall from a ladder, an infected wound, a fire which spreads quickly in timber homes, a cartwheel gone astray, a bout of fever. None of it is unusual. Infant mortality is high. Widowhood is common. Grief, in many ways, is built into the rhythm of life. And yet amidst all this, the city is alive. Not cheerful, but persistent, humming with effort, clinging to structure. Mothers soothe their children, traders haggle, bells ring, and time marches forward, one clanging echo at a time. By nightfall, you return home. If you have candles, you light them carefully. More often, you work by hearthlight or rest in darkness. You try to sleep, ignoring the cold, the noise, the itch, and you begin again the next day. This is why you might not last long in a medieval city. Not because of any one thing, but because of the accumulation of small hardships, the relentless weight of daily survival. But now, let's pull back from the rhythm of daily life and widen our lens. Let's look at a moment when this already difficult world became far worse. The city was already difficult to survive in, but in the year 1347, something new slipped into its borders, unseen. It came not with trumpets or banners, but quietly, on the fur of rats, in the belly of a flea, and on the creaking timbers of merchant ships returning from the east. They called it many names: the Great Mortality, the Pestilence, God's punishment. But today, we know it as the Black Death. Imagine yourself as a resident of such a city, already weary from the daily demands of life, when whispers begin to spread that something strange is happening in the port. A ship has docked, but its crew is silent. Many dead, those still breathing, coughing blood, speaking in fragments, their bodies marked by swellings the size of apples beneath the skin. Soon, the city gate closes. Too late. The disease is already inside. There are no doctors as we know them, no hospitals with antiseptic, only barber surgeons, clergy, herbalists, and the crude understanding of humors and divine judgment. Within weeks, the rhythm of the city changes. Markets thin, church bells toll more often, funeral processions become constant. The dead are too many for traditional burials. Pits are dug, mass graves filled hurriedly. The symptoms are swift and brutal, though we won't linger on them. What matters is how life begins to collapse. Neighbors avoid each other. Children are left unattended. Priests fear administering last rites. People abandon the sick, even family, in desperation to escape contagion. There is no clear pattern. Some die within a day. Others seem to recover, then suddenly worsen. A sense of helplessness spreads like the plague itself. Imagine a shopkeeper. One day, he's selling bread. The next, he is gone. No goodbyes, no closure. His stall remains untouched. Flies gather. Dust settles. The pestilence seems to choose without logic. Some try to explain. The young, the old, the pious, the sinful, the wealthy, the poor. And yet, some say it's the stars. Others blame poisoned wells. Foreigners, which is not bad air. To cleanse the soul, flagellants roam. Groups of men who whip themselves in public, hoping their pain will appease a wrathful God. Others turn to pleasure, feasting and drinking as if each day were the last. Because it might be. The bells ring. Imagine the silence of once crowded streets, the stillness of shuttered windows, the eerie quiet where once there was life. And still, ring for the dying, ring for the dead, ring for the ones no longer mourn, because there is no one left to mourn them. In some places, as much as half the population is lost. Entire families disappear. Businesses close. Monasteries empty. Cities shrink into themselves, scarred. But slowly, after years of devastation, the tide turns. The plague weakens. Its spread slows. Those who remain step out of their homes and see a changed world. Not just emptier, but reordered. Labor is suddenly in demand. Wages rise. Feudal bonds begin to loosen. A new middle class stirs. The Black Death did not only take life, it transformed it. It marked the end of one age and the beginning of another. Its shadow would linger for centuries in law, in faith, in the very shape of cities. And even now, when you walk cobbled streets in old towns, when you see a narrow alley to quiet, to still, you might feel, just faintly, the echo of those days. Now, let us move from the terror of disease to a different kind of mystery. One not of death, but of movement, of strange, uncontrollable dancing that gripped entire towns in a rhythm no one could stop. Now, let us turn our attention to something stranger, something less violent than the Black Death, but in many ways, just as unsettling. Imagine, if you will, a quiet town in the Holy Roman Empire. The year is 1518. The summer is unusually hot. The streets shimmer with dust. The people, as always, are burdened with work, with illness, with the weight of their own survival. And then one morning, a woman begins to dance. Her name, we believe, was Frau Trophia. She steps into the street, barefoot, her clothes sticking to her skin in the heat, and begins to sway. Her arms twitch, her feet move. There is no music, no laughter. She does not stop. She dances for hours. Then into the night, some passers-by smile at first, then frown, then begin to whisper. By the second day, she is still dancing. Her body trembling, her face blank. She does not seem in control. She cannot explain why she is moving. By the third day, others join her. Soon, a dozen people are dancing in the street, then 2 dozen. Some collapse from exhaustion, only to rise and dance again. Their limbs flail, their torsos shudder, their eyes are distant. There are no fiddlers, no festivals, only this strange procession of motion in the middle of daily life. Authorities panic. At first, they believe it to be an illness of the body, a fever, perhaps. So they do something unexpected. They encourage the dancers. They build a stage, hire musicians. They believe that the only cure is to let the dance play itself out. But the movement continues and worsens. Reports say that some danced until their feet bled. Some fell into unconsciousness. Some, perhaps, died. But here, we must tread carefully. Historical records from this period are scarce, inconsistent. They blend fact with local rumor. Even the number of dancers is debated. Some say dozens, others hundreds. This was not an isolated case. And yet, similar outbreaks of dancing mania were reported across medieval Europe, in Aachen, in Metz, in Utrecht, sometimes accompanied by visions, sometimes with people screaming or singing nonsense. So what was it? Was it a disease? A form of mass hysteria? That the body rebelled where the mind could not? Could it have been ergot poisoning? A mold on damp rye that causes convulsions and hallucinations? Or was it psychological? The release of pressure in a society so burdened by poverty, fear, and plague. Perhaps it was a little of everything: stress, starvation, superstition, and the power of suggestion. In a time when science was scarce and fear was plentiful, the mind could manifest its own demons, and sometimes those demons danced. Imagine being there, watching neighbors, family, strangers, moving without rest, not celebrating, not rejoicing, just moving. It must have felt like possession, or perhaps like punishment. Eventually, the episodes ended. The dancers stopped. Many never spoke of it again. The mystery faded, leaving behind only scattered accounts and confused chronicles. And yet, something about it lingers, because in that strange rhythm, in the fevered steps and silent music, we see a glimpse of a society at its edge, a people with too much sorrow and a few words. And sometimes, when the body can no longer hold what the soul endures, it dances. Let us leave the mystery there, unanswered, and rise, now, from the alleys and the strange plagues, to the high halls of wealth and power. Let us enter the world of the elite, where life, though different, was not always easier. Let us now lift the heavy curtain of the common city street and pass through gates of iron and stone. The world changes here. Beyond these thick walls and guarded towers, life is quieter, not slower, but no less defined by ritual, duty, and struggle. This is the world of the medieval elite. Imagine yourself waking in a castle chamber. The air is cold, colder than you'd expect for such a grand place. Stone walls do not keep out the morning chill. There is no glass on the window, only shutters slightly ajar. A small fire flickers in a hearth that has long since lost its heat. You do not wake alone. There are servants. A page may already be standing at the door, waiting for your first command. Another has laid out your garments for the day. Layers of linen, wool, and fur. Heavy, stiff, carefully embroidered. You are noble, perhaps a lord or a lady. But your day is still shaped by obligation if you are a man. Your morning may begin in the Great Hall, discussing land disputes, overseeing the accounts of the estate, or hearing petitions from the peasants who work your lands. You must manage not only your household, but the lives and labor of dozens or hundreds who depend on your protection and your taxes. If you are a woman, your responsibilities differ, but they are no less binding. You may oversee the kitchens, the gardens, the weaving rooms. You might tend to the education of your children or arrange the logistics of a feast, which could take days of preparation. And both men and women must be watchful of alliances. Marriage is a matter of politics. A child's betrothal is a tool to secure peace or power. Meals, though grander than those in the city streets, are still ruled by custom. You do not eat when you please. You eat when the household is called to dine, and you eat what is served, often rich, salted meats, thick stews, pies both sweet and savory. Spices are status symbols. So is sugar, which is rare and precious. The castle is not just a home, it is a fortress. It is cold in winter and drafty year-round. Its walls echo. Its towers require constant upkeep, and when war comes, it becomes a prison as much as a sanctuary. And then, there is boredom. Unlike the city, where noise and activity are constant, the castle can be eerily still. The day passes in long stretches. If you are literate, a luxury, you might read or dictate letters or study scripture. If you are devout, you will pray. Often, a noble's life is filled with ritual observance, to saints, to relics, to feast days. Entertainment comes in doses. A traveling bard, a feast, a game of chess, falconry if the weather allows. But weeks may pass in stillness, broken only by duty. There is also danger. Even among the nobility, life is uncertain. One wrong alliance, one failed harvest, one jealous rival, and your standing can slip. Castles may seem timeless, but they are political creatures, always watching, always shifting, and beyond their walls, always is the city, and beyond the city, the countryside, and beyond that to other lords, other claims, other threats. Yet, in the quiet of night, when torches flicker and the servants have gone to bed, even the lord of the manor may sit alone and listen to the wind through the arrow slits, to the far-off howl of wolves, to the silence of stone. It is not a life of ease, but it is a life of structure, a life where order is valued above comfort, where duty is more important than joy, where appearances are everything, but privacy is rare. And so, while you may imagine the nobility to have lived in splendor, you might find yourself longing again for the crowded street, for the hearth's warmth in a peasant's home, for simplicity, even in struggle. Let us now leave the castle behind. Step down from its towers. Walk slowly back into the rhythm of your own breathing. Let the medieval world drift into shadow and return softly to the comfort of your own time. And now we return. The gates of the medieval city fade behind you. The sounds, the bells, the footsteps, the murmurs of the crowd grow fainter, then disappear entirely. The torchlight dims, and the stone walls soften into the stillness of your room. You have walked among cobbled streets, past baker stalls and muddy gutters. You've stood in the shadows of great cathedrals, watched the city tremble under the grip of pestilence. You've witnessed mysteries with no answer, and rested beneath the high wooden beams of a castle. As hall, you've seen what it meant to live a life bound by the seasons, by birth, by station, to carry out each day not for fulfillment, but for survival. And in doing so, you've gained something rare in our fast, noisy world, a sense of quiet rhythm. The people you've met along the way, the apprentice, the widow, the noble woman, the monk, they are long gone now. But their world, their footsteps, their routines echo on, not in grandeur, but in memory, not in glory, but in detail. And it is in those quiet details, a worn wooden spoon, a candle flickering beside a prayer book, a page brushing soot from a Lord's boot, that history becomes most human. Tonight, as you rest, let those images settle gently in your mind like dust on old stone. Let them soften the edges of your thoughts. Let them become part of the stillness around you. You do not live in their world for a time, but now you've walked beside it. Sleep well, and when you wake, may you carry with you not the weight of their struggles, but the peace of knowing you have seen them, remembered them, and, in a way, honored them. Good night, and thank you for joining me.